entire team of Business Opportunity, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2021 Food Business Operations, Marketing, and Financial Resources Forum. OBO's key objectives are to educate, connect, and grow small businesses. So the creation of today's forum stems from the resiliency and fortitude of the small business community that we serve. As we've all seen, the food service industry suffered immensely as a result of COVID-19. But even in the height of the pandemic, my office received an unprecedented number of inquiries from entrepreneurs wanting to start a restaurant, food truck, or catering business. Knowing that there are myriad of considerations when opening a new business, especially in this new economic landscape, we felt that it was vital to create an event with valuable resources for all those interested in operating the food service industry. So for today's forum, we brought together industry experts to connect participants with key resources and information regarding digital marketing, cost controls, finances and funding, as well as operations, trends, and logistics. We'll then close with a networking session. Whether you are a restaurant owner seeking to build resilience strategies, or an entrepreneur looking to start a business, or a student wanting to learn more about the industry, you are in the right place. I want to give special thanks to our panelists and special guests from Eating with Catherine and the Eating Giant, the University of Houston's Conrad Hilton College, NextSeed, Csba, the U.S. Small Business Administration, as well as the Gordon Restaurant Consulting and BakerRipley. And last but certainly not least, special thanks to Cookery, who's hosting this event with our office. This first ever restaurant focus forum will not be possible without the support of our industry partners and their representatives who are generously sharing their time with us today. I'd also like to invite you to an in-person meeting group tonight from 5 to 7 at Ebony Food and Music. You're also invited to check out our website, of course, houstontx.gov/OBO for business development resources and programs that can help you grow your business from the startup phase and beyond. Thank you again for joining us today. I wish you the best in your ventures, new streams of knowledge, and fruitful connections at today's event. Now I'll hand it back over to Dr. Jackson.
Thank you, Marsha. And as Marsha said, welcome everybody. We are so happy that you've joined us today. We have folks who have years of experience, as well as folks who are new to the food industry. And we are just so glad that you all are here, waiting to hear all the resources and information that we have for you. So I'm Dr. Portia Jackson. I'm the Business Development Manager here with the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. You may have received emails from me today and last night, so it's good that you can put a face with a name now. And so we want to make sure that this event is just really interactive. So we know you may have questions. So we want to encourage you to use that chat. Matter of fact, go ahead and use the chat to introduce yourselves. Tell us your name, what company you have, or if you are just starting or just interested in being in the food service business, then let us know, just let us know that. We really want to connect with you, and we really want this event to be a network for you to lean on each other and learn from each other. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. So just a reminder, of course, use that chat, but also remain on mute just so we can make sure that we hear everybody that is sharing all the information. And we'll have times where you can unmute and ask questions if you don't want to place them in the chat. So again, thank you for attending, and we're going to get started with our opening session. So we know that digital marketing is huge, especially coming out of this pandemic. We've all been in the virtual environment, and with this webinar, we still are. So I want to introduce our first two speakers today. We have Catherine Lee and Anthony Vu. They are food bloggers and restaurant social media managers. They use the power of social media to highlight and promote the best of a restaurant, especially the food. They believe that through the proper use of social media and promotion, a restaurant is able to reach new heights and attract new customers, which I know you all want to do. And you can reach new people that you've never reached before, or maybe never come into contact with. They have over 20 years of experience over 20 restaurant clients, and they have over 67,000 followers. So I want to welcome, and you can welcome too, use your Zoom reactions. Let's start giving them a hand clap as they come. Anthony and Catherine, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you so much for the great introduction. I'm Anthony, this is Catherine. We're gonna go through our presentation briefly, and any questions at the end we'll answer. And if you'd like to talk more, just reach out to us and we could talk more. So social media marketing, we'd like to start out by just showing a little bit about the insights that you might see. Never compare yourself to a really popular concept. So this very first one is a very popular concept, first in Houston. We did a 1-week campaign and tripled in followers. What you're more likely to see within the first week is maybe double in likes or a little bit more in likes, more profile visits, reach audience. So you're reaching a broader audience as well.
Tell them what that means. So the first number right here, the account reach, that's basically telling you how many people have seen that post. So this was before we started working with them. And then after we worked with them here, that's about how many people were seeing their post after just 1 month. Or you can see that like a lot more people are seeing the post just because probably we're posting more engaging photos, engaging captions, using our hashtags correctly, and stuff like that.
Right, so this is the same information, but just at a 6-month span, 7-month span. So you can already see how there's more impressions from, let's say, scrolling through your homepage, using the hashtags, just people following you and they're engaging with your post more. These are a few of our happy clients. You can see why they're happy. The photos are great. All the information that they need is updated, and yeah, basically it. These are a few clients that we started from scratch. They're more than they were when I updated it back in April, but you can already tell that their photos are looking great. Their profile looks great. So it's more attractive to come to. It's a little bit about us. We started out by food blogging. It was just a hobby, and then it became bigger and bigger, and then we turned it into a business. And then we thought, why not use this business to help restaurants out? And that's where we got into social media management, where we do basically what we do with food blogging with restaurants. Okay, so most restaurant goals, you want to produce quality product for your customers, which attracts them, gets them to come back. This increases your revenue, and if they like your product, then you get their loyalty. And our strategy is basically to build off that. We want to attract new customers using your quality product. We want to generate new sales and leads to increase your revenue, and we want to build your restaurant's brand. Let's go through those. So you want constant traffic throughout the day, throughout the week, because that's your livelihood. Without customer flow, you don't have any income to keep the staff in the restaurant going afloat. And then awareness is so important. Many of you guys that have worked through the pandemic probably know this, but if people don't know about your product, then there's no way that they can come enjoy it. And there's a little quote here from Twitter: no matter how good your product is, if you can't get your message out to those who need it, then no one will buy your product. And a lot of people found that out during the pandemic. Branding. So you want everyone to know about your brand. Here's just a couple brands that you'll know off the top of your head: McDonald's, Google, Starbucks. We want to grow your brand. It'll take a long time to get that big, but that's definitely our goal. So anytime your restaurant's name is mentioned, you're like, oh, I know that restaurant. I've been meaning to go there. I've been there so many times. Okay, this is the customer journey. It starts with awareness, and then they consider coming into your restaurant, and then they make their first purchase. If they enjoyed their purchase, then you get the retention, and then advocacy is when they start marketing it to their friends. And that's the best way of marketing, word of mouth. Okay, so this is just a little example. The left one is a photo I found on Google, and this is a photo that we took at one of our restaurants. It's been mentioned in several articles, I think on Eater and
Houston Chronicle.
Houston Chron.
Yeah.
But again, this is one of the popular concepts, one of the first in Houston. So that's one of the factors where I made it up. Videos are also really important. This is one of our friends, actually. He's a home chef, and he comes to your house, cooks for small parties. And then he asked us to record this event for him.
He does pop-ups too.
And he does pop-ups too. So photos attract an audience, but videos attract bigger audiences.
You should never give her up. I think it's the way life changes when in love, yeah.
Okay, so we like to focus on Facebook, Instagram, and Google because they all attract different audiences. Facebook attracts the older audience, Instagram the newer audience, and even newer is TikTok, but TikTok gets a little bit complicated with the videos. Google is important to update your Google with your listings, all your times are correct, any new photos you might have, because one of the first things that people do when they hear about your restaurant is look you up on Google. And if they can't find or call you, then that you already lost a customer right there. Okay, so these are only a handful of the food bloggers or influencers that we know in Houston. There's so many of them. And it's important to know which ones to reach out to because you don't want to waste your time and money on someone that's not going to be beneficial to your restaurant.
There are lots of influencers and bloggers nowadays that will buy their followers, and those influencers are definitely not beneficial to anyone. They just are there for the free food. Mm-hmm. And we've been in the game so long that we can tell who bought their followers and who didn't. So yeah, we definitely help our restaurants. And even if you weren't working with us and you asked us, we would let you know.
Okay. This is just a rundown of what we would do if you hired us to do social media management for your restaurant. We do all the content creation. We come out to the restaurant, take all the photos, all the videos. You don't need to hire any additional expensive photographer. We had to add that part because one of our clients, after he left his PR company, he let us know that he paid for PR and he had to pay for a photographer every time they needed new photos. And that just built up and added up real quick. For posting, we post 4 to 6 times a week. This includes any promos, updates you might have. It's videos, photos, any content that we might grab for you. Contests, we run contests to build awareness, and that's on your own page or with influencers. With influencers with big followings, that's the biggest, fastest way to grow your page. We make sure all your pages are optimized, meaning that all your information is updated, it's all correct. People can find what they need to find quickly. We do a little bit of monitoring. We monitor your competitors, your location tag to see who's around you, who's interested. And that's really important whenever we start running ads, because you want to only run ads to people who might actually come to your restaurant. Not every single person will come to your restaurant, but Google, Facebook, they have really powerful platforms to help you kind of weed out the people that you shouldn't show ads to. And this would be an additional cost, but we can talk more about it if you're interested. Okay, growth takes time. We generally do a 6-month contract because it's really hard to grow within the first month. And some restaurants expect the restaurant to blow up within 1 to 2 months. And that's just not a reasonable time, really. So usually a 6-month contract is when we see the most growth. And then once you're done with the contract, it's up to you if you want to continue or not. Most restaurants want to continue to grow. And now we open the floor to any questions you guys might have.
Great, thank you so much. And so you all folks, feel free to type your questions in the chat and we'll get them to Anthony and Catherine, or you can raise your hand and we'll unmute you for you to ask your question. And so as they are getting ready to ask their questions, Anthony and Catherine, you mentioned that Facebook is for an older audience and Instagram for a newer audience. Can you be more specific? What constitutes as an older audience and what constitutes as a newer audience?
I think the older audience is more like our parents, the Gen X, I think. And then the newer audience for Instagram are millennials.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of millennials on Facebook. So I guess anything millennial and older would be Facebook, and then everyone else is starting to go through all sorts of other social media.
Yeah, like my little brother, he doesn't use Facebook at all, but my grandparents still uses Facebook. And my parents still use Facebook. I'm mostly doing Instagram, but I mean, I'm on Facebook just like every once in a while.
Great. And so we have a question in the chat from, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. It's Moreo. And they would like to know, what about if you know about your market segmentation? So can you elaborate more about how can you assist them if they do know about their market segmentation, how they can reach them more appropriately or better?
There's a portion of Facebook ads that you can go into. It's kind of hard to describe over here. You just go to business.facebook.com and then you sign up for or you create an ad page for yourself, and then it gives you a lot of options if you know your market already to specify what type of people you want to market to, male, female, race, interest. There's a lot of options.
Yeah, age
hobbies,
range.
age range, yeah.
Okay, and Moses asked a question,
right?
Moses asked the question, for a restaurant owner new to social media, what's the best way for them to get started?
The easiest way is to hire a social media manager, because we've spent years doing trial and error already, and I've had a lot of restaurants spend so much money that could have been better spent just paying someone that already knows how to do it. Especially running quote unquote ads. Do not use the boost post feature. I've read a lot of articles, seen a lot of videos where it says it's the easiest way to waste money if you don't know how to use it, which I've seen firsthand, people spending $1,000, a couple $1,000, and it's just not doing them much business.
Wow, that's good information to know, because I think a lot of people use that boost feature and expect, to reach markets or segments that they may not have any connection with. So I'm glad you were able to share that. Lorette has a question, and she asks, what are some ways to engage to your content? To your content.
Do you mean our personal content, or to get customers to engage with your content?
Probably the latter.
The latter?
And then
maybe. Yeah. To get customers, the best way that we do it is that we take really good photos and videos that make people want to click on it to begin with. If you've ever used Instagram, there's what is it called? That page. Explore. There's an explore page where you scroll down, and most people, they'll just scroll, but they won't click until they see something that they actually want to click.
Yeah, and engagement could be like likes, follows, comments. They can send it directly to their friend. They can save it. All of those are counted as engagement. And I think the best one that you can get are the saves, because that means they're trying to come back to it later. But we get people to engage in comments or save your page by saying stuff like, "Ooh, save this post so you can come back to it later," or tag your friends tag your friends for a sushi date, or tag your friends to get a drink with you, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So Audrey has a question. So they want to know your thoughts on using social media as far as on Nextdoor and LinkedIn to get their message out.
I don't have much experience with Nextdoor, but LinkedIn, it's a good way to connect with people, but I'm not sure how you could use social media marketing and management on LinkedIn.
I thought that I was under the impression that LinkedIn is more for professional meetings with people and not really businesses.
Yes, I believe it's more for networking, but maybe I think they should just want to know your thoughts, and because sometimes some folks have, their customers may be the folks that are on LinkedIn. So just kind of getting your thoughts on what you thought about how they could approach LinkedIn and for their business.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely reach out to corporates anywhere. especially LinkedIn, if you're trying to like do catering and such. But we don't focus on that too much. You can always reach out to people using Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah.
But if you want to broaden your horizon into LinkedIn, definitely do so.
Okay, great.
Best type of photos for social media.
Yeah. So can you tell us about the best type of food photos for social media?
Mhm. So there's different styles, first of all. There's like menu style photos, and then there's like social media style photos. So menu style is like super professional. You would normally see it on the menu, but also it looks like an ad if you post that type of photo all the time. So we take more like engaging type photos where like the food will be picked up, or in a video it'll be showing how to make certain dish, and that type of video or photo reaches an audience more on social media. But let's say that you're on LinkedIn or you're trying to reach out for catering to corporate people, then the more professional menu style photos would look better.
Great. So I'm going through, I don't see any more questions that someone asked. Definitely someone is interested. They want to know your pricing, but I see that your information is still on the screen. So if they can just reach out to you via email or call you, I think that'll be the best option.
Yes.
If they can discuss with you how you can assist them, because you know, just looking at those photos you had in your presentation in that video, I'm like getting hungry. So they were so vivid and running through, you know, and presenting it. So definitely work on those photos, folks, and make sure that you're kind of you're making people feel, you know, through the screen, and feel and want your product. So everyone, Catherine and Anthony have a lot of experience in this, and they have a lot of expertise that they can offer you. So make sure you reach out to them and discuss with them how they can assist you. And if you have any questions that you think of later on, are you guys going to be able to stick around if they have questions?
Yes.
Okay, so if you have questions for Anthony and Catherine, feel free to put them in the chat, make them direct messages so they can get those chats, or just ask it in front of everyone so that we may not have thought of that question, but when they answer it, we all get the answer and we all begin to learn collectively. So again, thank you, Catherine and Anthony, for a great presentation on digital marketing and how we can increase our followers from there and present more better photos and videos. So thank you so much again, and folks, they'll be sticking around, so if you have additional questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You are welcome. And so now I just want to take some time, you know, when we first started, I asked for folks to put your information in the chat so we can know who's here. So I just want to do a couple of shout outs. So we have here, Arlene Ramirez is one of our speakers. She says hello. She's from the Hilton College of University of U of H. Also, Kira Sams is a franchisee of PJ's Coffee of New Orleans and Pearland. Welcome, Kira. Julia Emerson, how are you doing? She's representing Centerpoint Energy and the new food service rebate incentive program for high efficiency kitchen equipment. So if you have any questions about that, make sure you reach out to Julia. And who else we have? Terrence Hayden, welcome Terrence. He's with Red Hurricane Express LLC. And we have Freddie Gatewood. Hi, Freddie, of Strange Fruits Catering. Freddie emailed me I think you emailed me this morning. Hi, Freddie.
Yes.
Glad you're able to join.
Hi. Yes, me too. Thank you.
And Moreo, the founder of Chi Chi Mix. Yes, with BakerRipley, the program, the food industry program that they had there. Good morning. Glad you were able to join. Diane Fu Fang, I hope I pronounced your name right, of Burger Chan. Thanks for attending. Thanks for joining. Hello, Cheryl, of the 40-year-old vegan chef. We have a lot of people on this call, so a lot of information being shared. So if you weren't able already to give us your contact information and to share it, so please do so. Put your name in the chat, what your business is. If you don't own a business and you're just here for the information, let us know that. We're all about building networks here and building connections. So we're going to take a quick break here, but we want you to stay on because we have Miss Kimberly Penn, who is going to come with some interactive trivia questions. I don't know what she has up her sleeve, but we know it's going to be interactive. But let me tell you quickly about Kimberly. She is the president of Webtropolis. She is a high-tech maven, and she's founded Webtropolis over 27 years ago. She's an advocate for entrepreneurship and mentors, and she has guided over 34 companies from startup to IPO acquisition. And her client list is very long, and it's broad because she's done it here in the United States and all over the world. So we are in good hands with Kimberly Penn. Kimberly, what do you have?
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started. Thank you for having me, everybody. And if you can see my screen, if you could give me just a Y in the chat, that'd be very helpful. You can see my screen, give me a Y. Very good, very good. Thank you, everybody. Welcome, welcome. I'm already learning a ton. And I'm glad to be networking and connecting with you all. And so as I'm supporting this event in any form or fashion that I'm able to, I had a couple trivia questions to kind of keep the energy going as well. And so let's get started with the first one. And by the way, the winner will get a Common Cookery gift certificate that we'll send you through direct mail very shortly after this event. Okay, so here's the first question. How many restaurants are in Houston? How many restaurants are in Houston? So I'm gonna look in there, chat. I'm gonna look and see the first answers we have. Somebody said a lot. I would agree with that. Okay, we're going through. We've got 2023, and we have 500, 2,000, 11,000. And we have a winner. That winner is Diane, and it is 10,000. So Houston has 10,000 restaurants. That could be food trucks, restaurants that have storefronts, so forth and so on. Our city has the most restaurants than any other city in the United States. So I always tell people, if you're bored with food, I'm not sure where you're looking because we have it here. You just got to get out there and find it. So Diane, you're the winner. If you could send me a direct message, I would take your email address and get that over to Common Cookery so we can get your gift certificate out. But again, Houston has 10,000 restaurants, more than any other city in the United States. And we're very proud of that. And we're really just wishing the best and wanting to help all those restaurants, especially as we're coming out of COVID-19. We know the impact that it has had. And let's get to that number and even higher in the coming days, weeks, and months. All right. Okay, Diane, thank you. I know you're going to send me a message here. And we're going to go to our next question. We're just going to do two initially. Okay, what is OBO? Okay, so we got started this morning. We've got a host. We have another organization that it has helped us get this event going. What does OBO stand for? What in the world is that? Okay, let's see. We have Robert Hines. It is the Office of Business Opportunity. That's correct. So if you would direct message me as well. OBO is, of course, the organization, the City of Houston Office of Business Opportunities, that's putting this event on as hosted by Common Cookery. That's the place that you need to go. And of course, you're here already. So I'm preaching to the choir a little bit, but let's make sure that all of our food creatives and restaurants and caterers know that this is a great source, particularly for small businesses, particularly for those who are designated as underserved. Historically, this is the place to go with the City of Houston to get the type of resources to help you reset your business, grow your business, make those type of connections and networks, and most certainly to be connected and to these types of events. And so, again, you're here, so I know that you have a good understanding, but make sure that you're constantly looking and connecting to see what other opportunities come about. All right.
All right.
I'm going to jump off of there, Dr. Jackson, and hand it back over, and I'll be doing a few more trivia questions a little bit later in the program.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. And you explained the Office of Business Opportunity very well. I don't even need to say any more. Besides, we also offer certification and a myriad of business development programs. So thank you so much for the trivia question. And I'm a little upset with Diane. She said OBO said or best offer.
Well, in the overall scheme of business cycles, that it could be that, but yes, I probably could have added a little bit more context to that question. So thank you all for everyone who participated. I'll be back a little bit later in the program.
Great. Diane, I'm just kidding. We have got to meet because we've got to get that or best offer for OBO out of your head. It's the Office of Business Opportunity. And so we're just so glad to be here and to co-host this with Common Cookery and to have all of our guest experts on to share the information. And so we're going to move towards our finance and financial resources panel. We have some great folks on, and I see them getting ready, turning on their cameras to share information with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce them one by one, and then I'm going to turn it over to them for them to talk about the specific area that they're ready to share with you, the information that they're ready to share with you. So first up, we have Arlene D Ramirez. She's from the University of Houston. She has more than 20 years of experience in hospitality and finance and hotel development. She's the founder of principal of ADR Hospitality Consulting. She has held various accounting and finance positions for places such as Marriott and the Four Seasons, and she serves as the Global Director of Hospitality Financial and Technology Professionals. And so she's going to talk to you about cost controls. But before she comes, let me finish introducing everybody else on the panel so you'll know who they are. We have Jovan Vadizvadik. I think I got that right. I hope I got it right, Jovan. You'll correct me when you come on. But he is the Managing Director of the investment banking team on NextSeed. So for NextSeed, he focuses on originating, evaluation, and structuring financial transactions for NextSeed's clients through Regulation D and crowdfunding securities offerings. So NextSeed has some different financial resources for you to get financing. So get ready to hear some great things from him. He has over 20 years of experience in the financing industry, especially on the New York investment banking. Then following Jovan, we'll have Robert Hines, the winner who knew who Office of Business Opportunity was. He is a senior business consultant for Chase here in Houston. And he has over 15 collective years of experience with JP Morgan Chase and 25 years in financial services. He's focused on maximizing his clients' profitability by executing strategic opportunities that fit their business needs while seeking ways to reduce operational expenses. And then rounding us up will be Abby Gonzalez from the U.S. Small Business Administration, Houston District Office. Abby is a former OBO employee, where she created various citywide initiatives and managed educational programming. And now with the SBA, she is working with the community stakeholders and small businesses to make a great impact in the community. So everyone, welcome this great panel. And so I'm going to start it off with Arlene, who's going to talk to you about cost controls. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Dr. Portia. Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here today. I do not have a PowerPoint. I thought we would just discuss things. I think some of us may be PowerPointed out at this point. So I do want to talk about cost controls today. And in the food and beverage operations area, that is so key because the margins are not always the biggest margins. So we want to make sure we retain every dollar that comes in through that door. And it's so hard to earn that dollar. So you want to make sure that as much as possible can flow down to the bottom line. So I'd like to start with first saying that one of the key strategies is to budget and forecast. You need to know what your goals are. You need to have an understanding of where you're going. I always equate this to if you're planning a trip, you usually have an app, right, to tell you what the best route is to get there. I use Waze, so I know which is the fastest way to get there so that I can maximize my time. If we don't budget and we don't forecast, it's very difficult for us to measure whether we're meeting our objectives and whether we're on track. Or like Waze, will sometimes if there's a traffic jam, will tell you to cut through a certain neighborhood or a different street. A budget and a forecast does that for us in the food and beverage and any financial or any business, being able to flex and pivot because you know your numbers and you know what your goal is and where you're trying to get to, what your cost structure is. And it sounds complicated, but it really isn't. And we do this all the time. You know what you can spend if you go out to dinner, for example, or if you're going to buy a car, you know what the maximum you can spend. Running a business is very similar. You have a goal, you know where you want to get to, so you can figure out what it is you need to do to get there. So budgeting and forecasting are very big components. And doing that today is quite simple. The point of sale systems that most restaurants use, and if you're a catering or a personal chef, like was mentioned earlier in the social media presentation, there are still ways that you're tracking your business. And a lot of these apps or these POS systems have so much data that we do not use. Honestly, a lot of times these are very expensive cash registers is how people treat them, but they are just a plethora of data that you can use to help you forecast and plan. And so this is a habit that we should get into and organize ourselves to make sure that we know where we're going, what our goals are. And as business levels change, and a freestanding restaurant is one of the most difficult to forecast because you don't always know if you don't have a history, especially if you just open. You know, if it rains, that could change what you think the business levels are going to be. But as you collect data through your point of sale systems, you can begin to develop forecasts and plan for your future. So that's the first step in being able to effectively control costs, is understanding your business and understanding your costs and understanding what happens when revenue goes down or if labor costs go up. The next thing is inventory management. And inventory management is very key, obviously, because you are buying in the restaurant business product that will, you know, go bad if it's not used. Okay, there's some dry goods that we can purchase that can last for a longer period of time, but most of our product is perishable. Even beverage is perishable. There's beer and things like that that can go bad if not used, right? Wine, if not properly stored, can go bad. So inventory management is key. You spend a lot of money on that asset inventory, and it does not become revenue or cash until you sell it. So we don't want to put a lot of money into inventory that's just going to sit there. We want to strategically purchase so that we can use what we need and not have a lot of stuff sitting there that could potentially go bad. And if it's not something that our customers want. So inventory management means you strategically purchase. You make alliances with vendors. You set up specific delivery timetables to reduce your costs, and vendors will do that. They'll work with you. Making sure that the product you buy is the product you need. Don't buy stuff that's on special just because it's a good price. If you are not going to use it, you do not need to buy it. So sometimes with inventory, we don't think of it as cost controls because it's things that we're buying to resell, and it's an asset. It's something we own that's going to provide us a benefit in the future, but it is cash. And as a small business, cash is very important. So you don't want to tie up your cash in places that are not going to turn it into more cash, right? This doesn't mean also when we talk about strategic inventory management, doesn't mean that you buy subpar level items. You still want to buy the quality that you want, but you want to make sure it's what you need. And management is not just the procurement of it, it's also the storage of your goods that you buy. Do you have adequate storage? Are your refrigerators and your storage areas at the temperatures that they should be? Are they kept dry? Are they in places that are going to avoid, say, water coming in or too much moisture that's going to, again, cause the product to perish? All of these seem very common sense, but sometimes when we walk into businesses, the owners of the business don't see the obvious because you're so involved in so many things. So having a strategy and educating everyone on that strategy, which I'm going to talk about in a second, about the education part of it, is very important. Internal controls. That is another way to manage your cost. And what I mean by internal controls is having policies, no matter how small of a business you are, it's those rules that help to make sure that you're safeguarding your assets. And your assets are your product that's in inventory, your furniture, your fixtures, your employees are assets. They're not on your books, but they're an asset. So having good internal controls. And sometimes, like I said, in small businesses, this is overlooked and it becomes a little bit of a laxed situation, which opens up a big funnel for money to go through and waste to happen. Things like when you make payments, securing your inventory, making sure the doors are locked, making sure there's a place that people come in. They don't come in through, your employees don't come in through the front door. There's a special place they come in so that you can see what's going on in the business. Having passwords and logins for every unique person. You're going to say, how is that cost control? It's going to help you manage your costs if you know who's in and out of your systems. Printers in the kitchen, so only orders that have been put into your point of sale system are actually produced, and you can account for the fact that they've been sold. Receiving, when you receive goods, who receives your inventory? Who's there to make sure that what you ordered is there and it is the quality that you ordered? Because it's another thing. Sometimes when we purchase items, they may not be at the level we wanted, and we have to know that we can return them and get what we want. You're paying for a product costs are going up right now. You want to make sure that you get what you ordered. And simple layout. When you walk into a restaurant, sometimes we see a lot of clutter. There's a lot of things going on. A simple layout can help you have great internal controls because you can visually see what's going on throughout your restaurant. Waste is the next thing I want to talk about. So waste, in a way, has something to do with internal controls as well. But waste is making sure that we use every bit of product that we have and nothing gets thrown out that is not necessarily needs to be thrown out. So that means meal portions. How are we setting our portions? Do we have consistency in what we're serving? So when I put 2 plates down on the table, does the person who ordered the same thing that I ordered getting the same exact portion? If one is bigger than the other, you're losing money because I'm paying the same thing as the other person is, but they received more, which means you're making less profit. So portion control is very important. And that goes back to something I'm going to talk to in a little while, which is training. The product type. What product are you using? Are you buying pre-measured items or are you butchering your own food? There's pros and cons to it. It depends on the type of restaurant you are as well. If you want to buy pre-portioned or pre-butchered items, they're going to come at a premium. But if you can't find labor, this could be a solution to that problem. Now, when you have someone butcher, if they're not properly trained, you can throw half a steak into the trash. So you have to make sure that you understand what product type you need based on the staffing you have, the experience of the staff, and what it is that your product is that you're selling. One of the simple cost controls that many people use is a see-through plastic trash bag that you use in the kitchen and throughout the restaurant where your customers aren't looking at it. Because it's amazing what you can see when there's a clear plastic bag. You can see silverware that's thrown away. You can see big chunks of product that's been thrown away that should not have been thrown away. And you manage by walking around. You look and see, and if it's a clear bag, you can kind of get an idea of what's going on. And it's not to reprimand, but it's to train and let people know, hey, by the way, when you empty dishes this way, you're throwing sometimes some of my silverware away, or you're cutting too much out of this portion. This is still good. So those are simple things. Spoilage. Again, that goes back to effective inventory management. You want to make sure that you don't have things that you don't need so they don't go bad. So those perishables, it's very key that you make sure you only buy what you need based on your forecasting, which we talked about previously. Having recipes for everything on the menu is very important. And I know sometimes chefs don't necessarily want to have to constantly update recipes, or sometimes we don't have anyone to put those recipes into our point of sale system. But there's a purpose for that, because we want to be able to track our costs. And if we don't know what goes into those ingredients or what goes into what we're selling, it's going to be very difficult for us to measure whether we're meeting our goals or expectations. So recipes are important, and to update them too when product costs go up. And all of us are seeing product costs go up right now. So how many have actually updated the recipe costs to see if in fact your margins are where they need to be? And all of these POS systems can easily upload these recipes for us to manage costs. Recycle. When you do have things that may not be looking like you want to serve them on a plate alone. For example, let's say you bought bananas and the bananas are getting a little ripe. Don't throw the bananas away. Make banana bread. You have a banana bread special. Okay. So let's say you have some stale bread. Bread pudding is on the menu today. We need to be creative and recycle what we have if it's obviously consumable. If it's not, well, you're not going to do that. But if you have things that you won't look pretty on the plate because they're not at their optimal level for serving alone, how can you recycle it? You know, soup. A soup is a good low cost item for the restaurant that you could sell at a high cost. It's all about how you market, which we learned about earlier. Menu engineering, making sure that you don't have too many items on the menu, but that they're placed in a format that's attractive. And we've all probably heard about how you placed your best sellers, your most profitable items right at the line of sight for your customers to see. And that means if you're still using QR codes, that you do it in a way that that the customer can see those first. Or you instead of a QR code, you use a bulletin board or a chalkboard, something unique and exciting for your customers so that they can see what you're selling. And making sure, again, that you understand what the contribution margin, what is the most profitable, which ones contribute most to your bottom line, and you put those in a place where people are going to see them. And you make the menu easy for your customers to see. No one wants to necessarily go through, a book that's 20 pages long to figure out what they want to eat, which means you have to have more product too. Because if you're going to try to make all of those items, you're going to have to buy more stuff, which opens you up for having a lot more waste and potentially items that are going to be perishable. Training to me is one of the things that I don't think often happens, especially in a small business, because we think we don't have the resources or the time. And I think training is not something that has to be huge or big, but it's something that you need to invest in. Because if your employees understand the cost structures, if they understand the menu, if they understand how to sell, they're going to be your biggest assets. How many of you have an employee who knows about wines and can sell more to someone at a table that may not have wanted to order wine, but now they've ordered 1 or 2 bottles? You just increase the profitability of that table versus someone who doesn't even mention wine. You just lost money from that employee. So by training your employees and explaining to them the cost structure of things, how things work, I don't think information should be something that we hold above someone. Like, I don't want to share it. I think when you share the right information with your employees and staff, you're going to get so much more from them, and they're going to feel invested in the business, and they're going to be more loyal, and they're going to stay with you. And right now, all of us know it's very difficult to find people. And so you want to be able to do something to attract people. And sometimes salary's not enough, benefits are not enough, but sometimes it's just that feeling that you're part of something big, something special, and that you are important and you are contributing to the organization. And those things don't cost a lot of money to do. Teaching about upselling, teaching them about cost controls, cost structures, all of this is morale. Make it feel as though it is their money. Okay, it is their money. And I know I'm kind of running here a little out of time. The low cost marketing, doing a lot of the social media that we just talked about, that is important. How many of you have gone to a restaurant, try to find it, and you see just some kind of ugly pictures on Google or Yelp, and there's nothing else, there's no website, no nothing, and you really want to know more about this restaurant. So it's important to do that. And if you don't have time to do it, you know, spend the money on getting someone. If you're going to do it right. It's very important.
And Arlene, we have a lot of folks that will have questions for you. And so are you able to stick around just a little bit to answer questions?
Yes, I'll be here until the end of our session. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, I get really excited about this and I was trying to manage my time here, but yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. So folks, if you have questions for Arlene, go ahead and put those in the chat. And hopefully if we have some time, we can bring all of our panelists together to answer the questions together and get that moving. But I definitely want to bring in Jovan to talk about crowdfunding and flexible financing. Jovan? And Jovan, you're on mute. We'd love to hear you. Say something now. No, we can't hear you. Okay, so you work on that. And Robert, from Robert Hines from Chase Bank. Robert, how are you doing?
Morning. How are you, Dr. Jackson?
Doing well. So talk to us about financial initiatives and resources that Chase has available for our restaurants.
My, there's so much to discuss.
Hello.
You know, first of all, I appreciate the invitation to be here. Thank you guys very much. You know, I'll keep it fairly brief, and then I'd like to stick around for any questions that you might have. You know, we can address those in the chat. But, you know, I just want to start off by saying, you know, obviously, you know, JP Morgan Chase is a full service financial institution. And I can't think of anything that we couldn't offer, right, to enhance a business and a business's presence. One of the things I wanted to really talk a little bit about, and this is going to complement so much of what Arlene said. She actually had me captured for a moment, so you'll see some questions from me in the chat, Arlene. But there's a lot of good advice that was shared there. And Anthony said something earlier about making sure that you have the right person doing the right thing. When he discussed social media, you know, you can work in your business or on your business, and it's really hard to do both. So we like to consider ourselves a partner, your financial partner. And there's a true or there's significant value in having a relationship with your banker. And I want to emphasize the word relationship. Banks offer a ton of resources. But you would never know because they're perceived as transactional institutions where you just go in and make deposits and withdrawals. The reality is we have a plethora of resources both internally and externally that we could supply to you to help you grow your business. And in many cases, save money inside of your business. One of the things I wanted to touch on, just to give you an example of that, is when I think of restaurants, I think of the potential fraud that you're opened up to, right? You have a ton of transactions happening daily. People are coming in and out. They're using debit cards, they're using corporate cards, they're using credit cards, some are using cash, right? There's an opportunity there. Arlene talked about point of sale systems. I know we like to go for what's cute and fancy, but the reality is we need to go for what's secure. At Chase, we talk to a lot of our clients about utilizing a closed loop system. And what that means is basically we provide the equipment, we do the processing, and we get the payment in your account. It's not touching 3 or 4 companies and taking 2 to 3 days before you actually get paid, right? So I encourage people to take a look at that piece. I encourage you to use a bank that has a strong online platform so that you can view your business 24/7. There's a lot of transactions that take place late at night. You want to be able to go on your online platform anytime and inspect any transactions that take place or make modifications to any transactions that take place, right? I mean, we have a particular tool where if you needed to go in and adjust tipping, for example, you know, because you have a merchant service platform that doesn't necessarily accept the EMV, or they do a swipe. So you charge one thing, you take it to the table, they add gratuity, now you have to go back and readjust that. Online platforms are really good at helping you do that, and it's less labor intensive. The other thing is, most people or most restaurants don't accept, American Express because of the premium that's charged to process it. But we have a platform that charges you the exact same thing for MasterCard, Visa, and American Express. And if you don't have that, ask a merchant service provider, right? See if there's an opportunity to do that. The last thing I'll touch on before I turn it over to Siobhan is, a lot of people come to us and they're in need of capital, right? And capital comes in two forms. It could be either intellectual or monetary. But if you're coming in and you want to borrow money for the purposes of enhancing your restaurant, make sure that money's going to solve that problem, right? Because money only solves the problem that not having money creates. And oftentimes, you think you need to expand and you think you need a loan for working capital. And the reality is you just need to train your staff, right? Like Arlene said earlier, you're creating a bad experience, and that's why you're not getting people to walk in your door. So it's not about, hey, I need another $30,000 behind a marketing campaign. So think about when you borrow, why you're borrowing. And if you are going to borrow, come prepared for that. No bank or financial institution is going to lend money to an organization that can't pay it back. After all, that's what we look at, right? We're going to look at how your business is cash flowing. Your history is a better indication of your future than your present is, right? So if you historically have not paid bills, we don't believe that giving you this money today is going to make you a stronger candidate to pay bills later, right? So think through that. The other thing that I'll say is, think about what you're borrowing. Do you need a term loan? Do you need a line of credit? Or does a business credit card make sense, right? It's a smaller balance. It's a little easier to qualify for, and it has rewards points. These are points that you can convert to cash, okay? Or potentially used for a employee incentive, right? Take the points, buy a round trip plane ticket somewhere, and says whoever has the best, service goals or upsells, whatever the case may be, you now get this trip, all expenses paid by the restaurant, and you use your points to do it, right? There's creative ways to think about motivating your team. So again, I could go on and on and on, but I prefer to just address what open questions are there, and I'll turn it over to Siobhan.
Thanks, Robert. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. So my name is Jovan Vojvodic. I'm with NextSeed. I'm a managing director here at NextSeed. We're based in Houston. We were started in 2016 as a crowdfunding platform. And really for the last few years, we've raised about $15 to $20 million, largely for food and beverage businesses in the Houston area. We've done transactions nationally, but given that we're based in Houston, we have a nexus with the Houston community. This is really where we've done the bulk of our business. And so basically what crowdfunding is it's the ability to sell securities to investors, non-accredited investors, which means they don't have to meet any certain type of net income or net worth goals. We allow people to invest with up to $100. And we sell both debt and equity securities to our investors on behalf of our issuers. So a common or kind of a standard example would be there's a restaurant that wants to open a new location. They need $500,000 to build out the location. Or maybe they have a bank line they have a bank loan for the new construction for $700,000, but they need $1 million to build out the location. So they come to us and they ask us to place securities to our investors in the order of that $300,000 stub or some residual amount underneath the bank debt. We offer two debt products in regard to the type of securities we place. We have one which is a traditional term loan, which would look a lot like basically a home mortgage. It's a monthly payment, and every month you pay a certain fixed amount, and a portion of that is principal, a portion of that is interest, and that amortizes over a 4-year period with a stated interest rate on it. The other product we offer is what we call a revenue sharing note, which basically means for every $100 you borrow as an issuer, you agree that you're going to pay some multiple of that back, let's say 1.3 times over a 4-year period. And we structure the transaction such that based on your projections and based on your historical cash flow profile, we anticipate that over that 4-year period, you're going to pay back the $1.3 for every dollar borrowed in such a way that what we agree is that we're going to take a certain portion or a percentage of your revenue in every month, such that that $1.3 is paid back by the end of the 48th month. What that allows is basically some flexibility in regard to the monthly payment, so that if you have a seasonal business or you have situations where it may take you a little bit of time to get up to, kind of a standard revenue run rate. If you're opening a new location, you're not beholden to pay a fixed payment every month, but rather that payment flexes based on your revenue share. We've basically done transactions for all types of things. We've done things for, we've raised a couple of $100,000 for Texadelcio when they were opening a couple of new locations. So that's kind of a franchise model. Existing locations like Common Bond, we raised $225,000 for them to open a new location. Some new concepts, Shoot the Moon was one that we recently raised around $400,000 for. And also there are certain existing companies that are looking to do something new. So for instance, the Breakfast Club obviously has had a very successful brick and mortar location. We raised a few $100,000 for them to basically expand into food trucks. Rooster Kitchen is another client of ours where obviously they've had very successful brick and mortar, but they were doing a lot of takeout business. We actually financed a build out for them in an adjacent location where they effectively opened up a commissary kitchen for takeout and delivery. So, I think we're fairly open and flexible in regard to use of proceeds. Generally speaking, the way we get paid is we get paid a percentage of the actual capital that the issuer raises. So for that reason, it doesn't really make sense for us to do transactions that are much smaller than $100,000 in size. But I'd say our average deal size is probably in the $400,000 to $500,000 range. We've done multiple transactions over $1 million. The things that we'll look at in regard to underwriting these transactions is, of course, we'll look at the management expertise to the extent it's a build out of an existing location or a new location. We'll look at kind of the historical financials and the projections for the new location and kind of take a look at that on a revenue per square foot or a profitability per square foot. So obviously, to the extent that it's not a new concept and there's historical data to look at, that's going to be important to us. I think as Robert mentioned, we will look to the sponsor's credit rating, their individual credit ratings. Our sense is if you can't manage, your own personal affairs and credit, chances are you're not going to be a good credit risk on the business side as well. So clearly the personal credit score is something that we will look at. We will also take a look at the location and kind of the demographics around the location. So clearly one of the things that we would need in order to finance the build out of a new location would be to have a lease in place and signed and a location identified prior to basically financing the deal. We have basically a fairly automated application process. If you go to www.nextseed.com, you can basically upload information. There's a very kind of a very straightforward method to upload information, and then that hits my team, and we can actually take a look at the information that's been provided and get back to you fairly quickly whether with regard to whether we think we can be helpful or not to you in financing the transaction. It generally takes us a week to 2 weeks once we had the application uploaded on our system to come back to you with, kind of a go, no-go decision on, whether we think we can be helpful and also what the interest rate would be on the transaction. What I'll say is that, we're not going to be competitive with bank financing. Robert and the guys at Chase are going to be much, much cheaper than us from an interest cost perspective. But what we generally bring to the table, and we see oftentimes people who don't even really need the money will undertake a crowdfunding campaign because what they want to do is they want to build that community support. They want to have people who can invest as little as $100 in their business in the local community, bring their friends in, drive traffic through the location, et cetera. So from a pure cost of capital perspective, we're definitely not the cheapest game in town from an interest rate perspective, but there's collateral benefits associated with having the community building, the brand awareness, the marketing outreach by virtue of doing the transaction on the website and getting the name of the business out there, and again, getting that kind of brand ambassadorship and sponsorship from the local community. The final thing I'll say, just to keep it brief, is that from a timing perspective, once we've kind of agreed to work with an issuer, we take about 3 or 4 weeks to get the campaign, even let's say an indicative transaction of $500,000. It'll generally take us, 6 to 8 weeks to let that transaction gestate publicly on the website and have people come in and basically invest into the transaction. We do a fair amount of social media marketing. We kind of spend our own dollars to do, as well as kind of help. If you have existing locations, we'll have we'll have flyers and table tents and things like that to announce the transaction, so that again, people who are interested parties can find out about the transaction, be directed to NextSeed and to answer the 30,000-foot view of what we do.
Thank you, Jovan, for that information. Please stick around. Folks, we're moving to the Q&A for this panel. So we want to bring up Abby Gonzalez from SBA to talk about the funding and resources they have there. Abby, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate today.
Absolutely. Tell us about SBA and how you can help this restaurant industry.
So I do have a quick presentation. It's only a few minutes long, so that I can stay on track with time. Are we seeing it? Because it's not showing up on my end.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. So very quickly, many of you are familiar with the SBA as the U.S. Small Business Administration. I represent the Houston district office. We have district offices throughout the state of Texas, and every state has at least one office. So if you're located in any of these 32 counties, we are the office that would help you with anything related to the SBA. So we cover everything from Matagorda all the way up to Leon County, which is about halfway up to Dallas. Although many people will think of the SBA and they'll think of our disaster assistance or our loans, we actually help in a variety of different ways. So I want to make sure to share that with you all through this quick presentation. So first and foremost, to let you all know, because I know that we're always looking for assistance, especially if it is free or low cost, the SBA has an SBA Resource Partner Network. All 3 of these partners are approved and funded by the SBA to provide you, the small business owner, with free business consulting. So you can connect with any of these resource partners to receive mentorship and advice. If you're looking to grow your business by creating a new marketing strategy, for example, or maybe you're looking to start a new business and you want help with your business plan, they can assist with all of that, and it is completely free. Our resource partners include SCORE, the Small Business Development Center, Women's Business Center, and the Women's Business Center actually has one brand new location. So you can connect with any of them for assistance, and with the topics that I'm going to cover very quickly, you can always connect with them to learn more details about our funding programs and other SBA resources. So Sba Capital, a lot of people will think of us when they think of this, but many people are under the impression that they can come directly to the SBA and apply for a loan. Aside from our disaster loans, that is not how it works. Although you would be participating in SBA programs, you do still have to work with an Sba Approved Lender, meaning that you do still have to apply through a bank. And we work with those approved lenders to offer microloans and SBA-backed loans, and those will typically come with startup-friendly and competitive terms, lower down payments, longer maturities, and a lower risk for the lender. So what we do is we guarantee your loan to the lender, saying that, for example, if we guarantee 90% of your loan, that reduces the amount of risk that the lender would take on. So that makes it easier for them to lend to a small business instead of automatically assuming that it would be too risky for them to loan to you. So we work with the lenders to ensure that you are getting access to that funding. Now, how can you use the SBA loans? It will depend entirely on how you want to use it, what type of loan that you will access. We have several different programs. For example, if you're looking to build a new building, you would go to our 504 program. If you're looking for a revolving credit, you would go to a different one. So it really does depend on what you're looking to use your funding for. Our loans range from $500 to $5.5 million. So we have very small microloans if you're looking to start a brand new business or you don't require as much capital that will assist you. And for exporting, our loans do go up to $5.5 million. So those loans can help you launch a new business, start or purchase a business, access revolving credit or working capital, purchase or expand your facilities, purchase inventory, purchase land, or even export your products and services. So for SBA loans, we always recommend to have a business plan ready, and that is because your lender will want to know that you have done your research and that you are able to explain what you're going to do with the financing, how you're going to use it, how you'll pay it back, and what you plan to do in your business. So we do recommend speaking with our resource partners to get your business plan started or to understand your financials, especially your projections if you are a newer business. And we have a list of SBA approved lenders. Many of the lenders that you can think of are SBA approved, but if you want to verify with us, you can always do that and we can provide you with the full list of SBA guaranteed lenders. A quick note on contracting, if this is something that you are interested in, we also assist with federal contracting. We have certain certifications. The SBA works with federal agencies to award at least 23% of all prime government contracting dollars through small businesses and through our SBA contracting programs, which include the 8A Business Development Program, Hub Zone, which is different from the state of Texas Hub Zone program, the Women-Owned Small Business Program, and Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Program. So we offer that type of certification, but we also have this great resource here in Houston, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center, that can help you with free or low-cost advising to determine if your business is ready for federal contracting and to help you register in the right places and to learn more about these certifications. And a quick note on crisis, I'm sure everyone has heard plenty of this and I don't need to go too into depth about it, but I'll cover it anyways. Each year we provide billions of dollars in low interest long-term disaster loans to help small businesses, homeowners, and renters recover from declared disasters. After a declared disaster is the only time the SBA will provide funding directly to the business without having to go through a lender, with the exception of certain programs that existed during the pandemic like PPP. So that is a super quick overview of the SBA, and hopefully you were able to retain some of that information so that when you think of the SBA, it's not entirely about the loans or the disaster loans, but we are here to assist in any way. And if we don't happen to offer the resource that you're looking for, we have a very vast partner network that includes OBO and other individuals on this call so that we can connect you to them. Feel free to visit our website, give us a call, or send us an email. You can also sign up for email updates, and we have various copies of presentations on our website that you can also utilize. So Dr. Jackson, back over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby, and thank you to our panelists. And so we do have one question for our panelists, and this is really for Jovan. And you folks can feel free to ask additional questions and we'll get them answered for you. And just note, if you have any questions for Arlene, type them in the chat now. She will have to drop off in just a second for another engagement that she has. So make sure you ask her question really quickly, or you have her contact information. You can definitely reach out to her at any time that you're available after this program. So the question, Jovan, is, what are the requirements to run a crowdfunding campaign on NextSeed?
So there's, am I on mute? Okay. There's two basic requirements. There's of course our underwriting requirements, which I kind of touched on. We're going to look at management experience, We're going to look at credit scores. We're going to look at some of the projections and make sure they're reasonable. We're going to look at the locational demographics and kind of try to get a sense for, realistically, are the projections achievable? And then we're going to basically put those into our underwriting model to come back to the potential issuer with regard to, what type of interest rate or what type of deal structure we could offer, how much we think we could raise from the crowd. So there's kind of what I'll call the business underwriting perspective, and then there's the regulatory requirements. The regulatory requirements really relate to two things.
I think we lost Jovan. I'm sure he'll log back on really quickly. Arlene, before you go, we do have a question. Where can we get most? Did we lose Arlene now? I think we did. Okay.
Oh, hey, Dr. Jackson, I'm back.
Jovan, you're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I got kicked out. I don't know if you guys heard anything I said, but basically what I was saying was that there's a business underwriting that we do, again, relating to kind of the experience of the management team, the projections, the reasonability of the projections, the location, credit scores, things like that. And that's basically something that's done in-house. We put that through an underwriting model, attributing basically different weightings to different factors. And we'll come back to you with our view on how much we can raise and what the cost or the terms would be under what we would do. The other portion of it really relates to the regulatory requirements around crowdfunding, and primarily those relate to two things. There's a regulatory filing that needs to be done. It's a disclosure document that would be worked on between the issuer and their counsel, which basically describes the business plan, again, some information on the management team, some information on projections, how they were derived, et cetera. So it's basically the information that we need to provide to investors in order for them to make their investment decision. And then the other piece of it is that depending on the size of the transaction, there may be some requirements around financial statement review. So effectively, if you're doing a deal under $250,000, your financial statements do not need to be reviewed by an outside accountant. If you're doing a deal between $250,000 and $1 million in size, you need a third-party accountant to review your financial statements, but not to audit them. And that generally costs around $2,500. To the extent you want to do a transaction over $1 million, you're going to need to have audited financial statements. And again, that's a regulatory requirement. It's not an NextSeed requirement. But in terms of, we allow people to invest with as little as $100. Again, the goal here is to make this thing as broadly distributed as possible. As much kind of, crowd momentum and community support for the business. And so, you're really going out to pretty much anybody in the community with regard to who the actual investors are going to be.
Great, thank you. And so we're almost out of time for this session, but I just want to get this last question in. Robert, it's for you. How do you start to build a relationship with a local bank?
It's pretty easy. Just walk in and ask for it, right? So when you think about a retail bank location, usually the banker that's assisting you has a specialty. Some of them focus on the consumer side, some of them focus on the small business side. You do have some banks where they focus on both, but just indicate to them that, hey, look, I'm a small business owner. I'm looking to grow my business, or I want to talk to you about how Bank X can help me with whatever the objective is. And again, that could be to grow your business. That could be to scale your business. In some cases, it could be even advertising your business. One of the things that people are unaware of at JP Morgan, and if you walk into a branch, you're probably going to run into this, but we offer white papers on, how to hire the right people, how to market your business. And no one would ever think about walking into a bank and asking for a white paper. Now, again, it's not something that we have in the retail bank, but on the commercial side and the business banking side, we do offer that type of information. So again, the short answer is walk in and ask for what you want. And that's typically going to get you what you need.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you to all of our panelists, Arlene, Abby, Robert, and Jovan, for all the information that you all shared. They have put their contact information in the chat. So please reach out to them if you have any further questions, any assistance. They are here to guide you. There was a question for Abby, but she did answer it in the chat. So go to the chat to see that information, because I'm sure that was a question that a lot of folks wanted to ask you. So again, thank you to our panelists, and we look forward to you all supporting our small businesses in this industry, that your continued support of them. So now let's move to Kimberly. I think she has some more questions for us.
I do. Thank you. Thank you. Again, I'm learning a turn, and I'm capturing contact information for all these great panelists that are included today. So let me get my screen shared and have my chat going. Hang on here. All right, here we go, folks. I have a couple more trivia questions for you. This may seem like an odd question, considering we're talking about the restaurant industry and financial opportunities and how to really shore your organization up. But I think when we talk about where are your customers, right? These are the parts that I think are really, really important to know, because Greater Houston and the United States, obviously, but just looking at Greater Houston and some other pieces, here we go. So name the top 3 most diverse cities in the United States. Let's see, I've got a couple people that have already popped it in, and we're gonna let some other folks pop in and see what's the correct answer. Again, name the top 3 most diverse cities in the United States. So we've got, see, okay, y'all are typing super fast. Let me keep up, let me come over to that first one. Okay. Mario, that unfortunately was not correct. Let's see, we keep going. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so New York, LA, and Houston. So we've got, let's see, Andrea, if I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. You are the winner with Houston, LA, and New York City, which, by the way, Houston, for going on to the 5th year running, is the most diverse city in the entire United States. Maybe that's the oil and gas capital aspect, maybe because we're the world's largest medical center, or maybe because everybody knows Houston is just a dope city, right? So what does this mean to you? Of course, it means that you have customer opportunities everywhere. And this just brings about all the different opportunities and palettes that we have here in Houston. And so, Andrea, if you would please, and again, pardon me if I'm mispronouncing your name, send me a direct message. That way we can get your Common Cookery gift certificate out to you as quickly as possible. Let's see. One thing I did want to add, because I found this really amazing when I was doing some research, and maybe you know this information already, but Houston, we're about 637 square miles, right? So we've got about 7.1 million people. I always think of this like all these customers, and obviously some of them are going to be little tiny kids, but in terms of overall population, we've got a huge population here. And again, food is one of those things that people just love and definitely devote a lot of time to. But we're also larger than 5 other whole states in the United States: New Jersey, New Hampshire, Delaware, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. Our city is larger than all of those. Just wanted to throw that trivia piece in there as well. Okay, here's our next question. This is going to be, I know it's a while ago since we got started. Who was our opening speaker? Who kicked off this event for us? Pop that into the chat and let's see what we have here. Who was the opening speaker? Let's see, got some people popping in. Get some more answers. Got trustees answered as well. Who was our opening speaker today? And we have our director as Marshall Murray, but I see some people put Dr. Jackson in, and when I go back, I think that is probably more accurate because she got us started, then she moved us over to the director. So I stand corrected. We're gonna go with the first person who placed Dr. Jackson. So there's a big old X in Marshall Murray, only as it relates to the trivia piece. We're gonna go with Maroye as our winner. And again, it's gonna be Dr. Jackson who actually kicked it off and who has been so gracious throughout this entire event. And so if you would go ahead and send me a direct message, I would appreciate that so we can get the gift certificate out. Sorry for the confusion, but it just spices up things. It keeps everybody on their toes, right? So we're all ready to go in that form or fashion. Those are my trivia questions for today. I hope that you've learned some things more about the city that we're all living and engaging and working and growing in. And may we all continue to recover as hopefully the final days of COVID-19 are in our rearview window or mirror. All right, thank you all so much. Take good care.
Thank you, Kimberly. And this is the first time I've ever been an answer to a trivia question, so yay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, thank you.
So folks, as we move to our third session, we just want to give you a break if you want to stretch your legs, your arms, and get something to drink before we move into our restaurant operations, resources, and trends and logistics session. So we'll give you about a couple minutes to do that, and then you join us back, let's say at 11:30. We'll finish our last session, our last two sessions. So go ahead and take a break and we'll see you back here. And if you have any questions, some of our panelists are still on the line. So if you have any questions for them, if you want to utilize your break to ask them a question, go ahead and do so. You can unmute your mic and ask them a question. the break, and as you join us back in, just want to give a couple shout outs to Lorette, who typed her information in the chat. She's the owner of Zongo, as well as Brandy Guidry, who joined us. She's a startup and restaurant and business consultant. Common Cookery, her information is in the chat. She can definitely help you. Make sure you reach out to her. As well as we want to say hello to Eric Fitty with Hall. Thank you for joining us. As well as Arlene. Thank you for joining us, Arlene. She's the owner of Boot Texan Kitchen, as well as Trustee Butler of the A-Leaf ISD. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. Trustee Natasha Butler. Thank you for joining us. And so as we move into our last session about restaurant operations and resources, we're going to go ahead and introduce our three panelists. So if we can go ahead and cut the music, that would be great. So our first panelist up is Fred Gordon of the Gordon Restaurant Consulting. He helps restaurants create systems, marketing strategies, management training for both front and back of the house operations. His experience spans 15 years service in front and back house management and general management roles. He has restaurant experience in what you may know, a popular group, the Papa's Group, and he is applying his knowledge now to his 20 plus clients, which include notable restaurants like Prospect Park, as well as 13. Following Fred, we'll have Nini Gutierrez, who is the senior small business coach with the BakerRipley's Entrepreneur Connection program and a great friend of OBO. Her passion for inspiring and elevating her community is what drives her career.
Thank you.
She has great experience, and she recently has become an entrepreneur herself in starting her family's Colombian cuisine catering business. And then after Nini, we will have no other but Moses Aiku from Common Cookery, our partners here, and he's a co-founder of Common Cookery. And so there's somebody, if you can please mute your line, we'd love to hear from you, but just not right now. Thank you. And so Common Cookery is building a small business incubator and digital food delivery service that partners with local food creatives, and they have a great amount of information to share. So panelists, I'm going to really turn it over to you to bring this conversation in. Fred is going to talk about restaurant operations, Nini about recovery resources, and Moses about trends and logistics. Fred, why don't you kick us off?
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. I appreciate it. I think that might be my background, so I do apologize. Thank everyone for having me. And honestly, Arlene did a great job articulating cost. And when you think about restaurant operations, they kind of go hand in hand. So what I'll do is just kind of go a different direction, touch on some of the points that she mentioned, and try to give you guys a little bit more insight. So first things first, one thing that I try to do with my clients whenever I work with them is just try to get them to consider three things, right? And the first is, in this industry, like Arlene mentioned, you have to be an expert as far as what products you're selling, what you're using, and kind of what's going on with the trends. I'm pretty sure everyone's noticed how much chicken has cost recently. I think H-E-B even put a limit on how much you can purchase as far as wings is concerned. And that's really because of the market is suffering right now. Not only are you dealing with a pandemic, a huge farm up north here in Texas, a lot of birds were killed during the freeze. So now we're starting to see that ripple down effect with the cost of chicken right now. So definitely know the market, know your product and what you're selling and what's going on in certain trends. Second, I always challenge my clients to always ask the question, is the juice worth the squeeze? Okay. And then third, who's going to take the cost? Is it going to be the guest on the menu or you as a restaurant operator or owner? And so I'm going to try to give you guys an example on all three of those and kind of tie this thing in one quick swoop here. So I have a client currently who has lamb on their menu, and currently they were paying $44 a pound for lamb. And, starting to look into this, she wanted me to kind of help out and figure out what we can do with this. And so upon just kind of investigating, first thing first, I became an expert as far as with lamb and figuring out the different types of lamb that were out there, you know, New Zealand, Australian, and of course, domestic, and what the differences were. And so they actually sell quite a bit of lamb. So when you're dealing with, you know, making decisions, know your menu and what's selling. That way you can kind of drill down as far as the cost is concerned. So they were definitely selling quite a bit of lamb. And there had to be a good reason for that. And obviously they were using a domestic product, which is a lot less gamier as far as the taste is concerned. And so what we did was we looked at how they were getting their lamb shipped in, which was through a third-party vendor who outsourced lamb getting cut for them and packaged. And that's one thing Arlene was talking about as far as, you know, can you take on that and figure it out? And so what we did, and we kind of looked at, could we bring lamb in ourselves and then just break it down? And what we did was I hired a guy at $10 an hour, and that was his job, and is to break lamb down. And now we can get it from $44 a pound, which they were selling roughly about 15 cases a week at $325 per case. You can do the math. They were upwards of $5,000 per week in just lamb alone. And so we brought in a guy, paid him $10 an hour. Now we get the lamb, which is a domestic lamb, the same product that they were selling. And we got it now down to $15.79 a pound. And what we didn't want to do was change the quality of the lamb. So we still accomplished that. And we didn't have to throw a bunch of money at the menu and have the guests take the cost. So it kind of ended up working out on both sides, because now they're getting lamb on the back end for a lot cheaper than what the product was giving to them being butchered. And they're still able to make money without costing it on the menu for the guests to have to pay that cost. So again, those are just some of the things that when you're dealing with food cost and, you know, you're dealing with different products, you have to learn and try to figure out, without throwing money at the menu all the time, you know, what is going to be the best benefit for the guest and the restaurant. And, you know, knowing those margins and understanding, you know, how you can take lamb now that we're paying a little bit over $1,500 a week versus the $5,000. That's a difference of $3,500 a week. And if you can just multiply that out, you can see how much that can cost out in an entire year. And we're paying a guy that makes $10 an hour. He's getting $400 a week. You know, again, it's just how you manage cost is what, you know, the biggest thing is when you're dealing with restaurants, because the margins are so slim. You know, going back to chicken, it's $180 a case. Understanding and knowing, you know, hey, this is a different animal now that we're dealing with. You know, 2 or 3 years ago, chicken case was $120, and now we're seeing cases almost close to $200. And you factor in the price of oil for your fryers now, that's increased by 40%. You just have to really play around and figure out how you can be profitable during these times. And that's one thing that, you know, I try to help my clients with and teach them and help them understand when margins are already slim and you're going through times like this, you got to figure out how to get those margins and how to make the best for your restaurant.
Awesome. Thank you. And will you be able to stick around if folks have questions?
Yes, absolutely. No worries.
Okay, great. Nini.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So thank you to Common Cookery and to OBO for inviting me. Like Portia said, Dr. Jackson said, I am a longtime friend and partner of OBO, even my previous role. And so I just wanted to introduce myself, our program, and talk a little bit about our food industry recovery program as well. So my name is Nini Gutierrez. I am a senior small business coach with BakerRipley's Entrepreneur Connection program. I'm also excited because I see a lot of our food industry recovery program alumni on here, so it's exciting. Our program has been around for a couple of years, since 2015, and our mission is really, you know, within everything that BakerRipley does, our program's mission is to bring education, resources, and connection to capital to small business owners that are either launching or growing their business. And we do that in a variety of ways. We do it education. We have academy classes both in Spanish and in English for entrepreneurs that are looking to start or launch their business. And then we also do it in the form of workshops and events throughout the year. And then we do technical assistance. Our technical assistance is more one-on-one with our clients, helping them with business planning, helping them with marketing plans, with policies and procedures, strategic plans, and all of those, more detailed things and everything that's tailored to a specific business. And we do that. Everything is free at this time. There's no costs. Due to the pandemic, we've taken away our fees. And then the last thing we do is a big pitch competition, similar to the City of Houston's Liftoff competition, and it's all in Spanish, and that's at the end of the year. So those are our components to our program. So like we've said, the pandemic hit, and we went into recovery mode, trying to help our entrepreneurs make sure that they were surviving. And when we started meeting with our clients one-on-one, we saw that our food industry clients were being hit really, really hard. And obviously they had to close. Some of them didn't open when they were able to open because they were limited on staff. They didn't have proper procedures in place. We guided them through that. And within that, we also saw that there was a need for them, if they were open and they were doing well and they were surviving, now what's next, right? So within the food industry, there were a lot of helps. We were able to help them with PPP, with the EIDL loan applications, and then with this new restaurant revitalization grant as well. So we did a lot of that one-on-one help. And then we were thinking, and we're like, let's see what else we can do. And we were able to partner with Fight of Hope through Hope Clinic. And what we did was we created a food industry recovery program. That program was created because we wanted to help rebuild existing businesses who have been impacted by COVID-19. So what they do within this program, it's an intensive course. It's a 4-week, 2 classes a day. The classes are 2 hours, and they learn food industry. They learn about the importance of incorporating healthy food meals, getting access to local food experts, and also not just locally, but from all over the world. They build out strategic plans for recovery. They review cost analysis and cost structure, which Arlene discussed, and it's really important, like she mentioned. And then it also helps you focus your mindset, right? So you can pivot your business. And that was something very important. A lot of our clients weren't sure what to do. Should they offer delivery? Should they close? It was hard decisions they had to make. Do they have to let their employees go? Do they bring them back? What type of menu options should we take off the menu? Like Fred just mentioned, if something was too expensive or they weren't able to source it, then should we take it off the menu? Should we put something else on the menu? So we go through that. They are able to have access to a chef through the Bite of Hope program and incorporate healthy foods, look at their menus. And like I said, it's an intensive course. So we look for candidates for this that are already operating because we want to make sure that they are dedicated to the recovery of their business. So we want them to already be in business. We want them to have their food safety certificate already. If they don't, they can get it during the class. And then we also have other topics like marketing plan. We have marketing and branding sessions. We have sessions on e-commerce, which are very important. And we have Common Cookery that comes on and help us with that. We have a session on menu planning as well. And so, like I said, after they're in these intensive classes, they also have coaches that are assigned to them and they're able to do one-on-ones. So currently we are enrolling into this program but the class that we have coming up is in Spanish. So if you are a Spanish speaker, please join us. I'm going to put the link in the chat for you guys to apply. Or if you know a Spanish speaker, food industry entrepreneur, have them apply. It's a great program. Like I mentioned, we partner with different entities within the city. Harris County Public Health goes on there and talks about food permitting. Then we also have OBO on there and the Port of Houston to talk about small business certifications and how they can become certified to do business with government entities. So the program is really great. And so, like I mentioned, we did this for our food entrepreneurs because we know that now that we're kind of getting to the new normal, we want them to be resilient. We want them to continue operating. Like Kimberly said, we have the most restaurants in the nation. We are a foodie city. We have the most diverse city, so we have cuisines from all over the world, which is awesome. And I'm learning just like everybody else. Like Dr. Jackson said, I'm a new food entrepreneur. And so I'm learning as I go. So I love this class. I love these forums like this and other things that are in the city for you to learn about the food industry. So thank you guys so much. I will stick around. I'm going to put all of our links in the chat, how to contact us. We are available for, any industry as well. You could talk to us and I can help you out with anything that you need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nini. Moses.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to join with us today. Thank you, Dr. Portia. Thank you, all the fellow panelists so far and others to come behind me. We are really, really excited to even share this opportunity with food business owners and introduce you to resources that are out there. And for those of you who are the experts as well, also connect with you and hopefully connect you with an audience out there that really, really needs your expertise. As Dr. Portia said, my name is Moses Iku, co-founder of Common Cookery. And Common Cookery, the way we like to see it in-house, is really a company that was just born out of observing trends and noticing the opportunities within these trends, right? Prior to the pandemic really hitting last year, we began to notice a shift in the food service space. I don't have to tell this audience, right, what has happened in terms of retail, how everything has pretty much gone digital, right? You could thank the Amazon effect, and now pretty much everything is e-commerce, right? And when you need to buy goods. We started to see that trend also happening in food service, particularly when you had your food delivery apps launch and they just came into the market full force. And what do you know? The general public loved them. Everybody loved to order their meals and get it within 30 minutes to an hour and have tons of choices, right? We also noticed that within this space, right, restaurants were not adequately equipped to really, really take advantage of this new opportunity. For one, a lot of restaurants were just your traditional sitting, dining establishments, right? Few did takeouts, few did to go. The fast food companies had drive-through lanes. But your traditional mom and pop restaurant, where you see a lot of them in Houston, were just not ready for that. But they needed these guys, so they jumped on board, and a lot of them, right, are not doing so well. When you take in the delivery fees and all the added cost of running such operations. So we started to think, how does this help? How can we help food businesses, right? When we originally started this business, it was just to connect small restaurateurs to kitchen facilities that were optimized for delivery. But when the pandemic hit, we decided to also include a marketplace because we had engaged 600 of them, right? And wanted to make sure that they were doing okay and contribute. So right now we do long range deliveries up to 40 miles around Houston. When you go on commoncookery.com and order from any one of our restaurant partners. But speaking in the light of paying attention to trends. That's really what I want to communicate today, right? The National Restaurant Association did a survey of restaurant owners that they released the report earlier on this year. And the overwhelming outcome was that the year of pandemic-related shutdown has changed the way restaurateurs have to operate. Why? Most of them now have to focus on off-premise dining. So what do we mean by off-premise dining? It literally means people are ordering to come pick up, or people are ordering to get delivered. And so a lot of restaurants that were not even ready for this, right, had to adapt in real time. And I remember going through a lot of the NINI's programs and other resources in the cities, right, just trying to get restaurateurs on board to take advantage of this opportunity. So that's not going anywhere. In that same survey, 63% of your eating public has said that they're likely to continue ordering. They love the convenience, right? And then in that same survey, 58% of them have said it is essential. A lot of people are professionals now working from home, and then kids are home, so they have to order more and more. So what does that mean for you as a restaurateur, right? If you're not thinking along those lines already, you really need to start considering that. You really need to start thinking about how your current location is set up for you to take advantage of increased off-premise dining. Does that mean that you're going to add a pickup window? Does that mean you're going to convert a portion of your sitting dining to just to-go spaces, so that when the delivery guys come, they're just going in and out, in and out? Does that mean that you have to revisit how your POS system is set up so that you can get more products delivered out of the door and more products to be picked up from you versus people coming in and sitting down? And if you look around the food service space in the country, that's what most businesses are doing. And that's what most businesses who really did well, food businesses, I should say, who really did well during the pandemic, they have done. In that same report, the National Restaurant Association saw that from small to your large scale food businesses, they're all going from having to even redesign their existing locations to cater to off-premise dining because it is here to stay. Now, if you are a startup in this space, it's a great opportunity for you. I know a lot of people can say, well, how do I get in? Well, there are a couple of ways. One is, do you need to go and invest in, I don't know, 5,000 square foot dining facility, right? Just to bring customers in. Or can you get into a smaller space that is focused on a larger to-go component and really push within that segment? So think about it. You don't have to hire as many front of house staff, which we all know, along with increased food costs, has become an issue, right? You have to think about the fact that if McDonald's is getting ready to pay $15 an hour to employees, right? You have to consider that whether you can afford that, you know, in your startup business. So you want to think about how you can do more, sell more with less. So that's where off-premise becomes really attractive. And that in itself has created opportunities in what we call off-premise kitchens. I know the gentleman from NextSeed was on earlier when he talked about a campaign of one of their clients who raised funding to build commissary facilities to either serve their restaurant locations or to just do deliveries out of. Start thinking about that. One thing Mimi did not touch on is the BakerRipley organization has a commercial kitchen space. It's amazing, fully equipped. Go and take a look at it, right? And see if you can rent spaces out of there to hone your concept and offer delivery out of there as well. Similarly, there are a lot of players coming into town with what you call ghost kitchens. I know some of you hear it out there and you're like, oh, no, these are bad. It's here to stay. It's a cost-effective way of getting started Because if you weigh the cost of opening a new restaurant location, which can range from $500,000 to $1 million, depending on what your concept is, versus starting up in a ghost kitchen facility, which can range anywhere from maybe $30,000 to $100,000, it's a no-brainer. And then if you think about the fact that there's extra marketing they do for you, why not look into it? Another thing I would recommend restaurateurs in attendance to pay attention to is the evolving food delivery space. So you don't have to only service through DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats anymore. Over the past 2 years, when I talked to a lot of restaurant owners, right, one of the issues they had was just keeping up with the order frequency for these platforms. There are platforms that are emerging all over the country. A lot of them are regionalized, a lot of them are local, smaller platforms that really take particularly the small restaurateur into consideration. That's why you've seen a growth in what you now call the scheduled delivery space, where people can go on certain apps and place orders anywhere to up to 24, 48 hours ahead in some instances, right? So, and it gives you, the food owner, time to prepare, go shop ingredients, you name it. If there are changes, and to get it ready and to get delivered. You're also seeing players in the spaces where they're doing longer range deliveries. Very few. There are even those that can help you ship your product out of state. You know, it depends on what you want to do. That's another trend that I would say anyone in the food business right now should pay attention to, or if you're looking to start. That in itself too is an opportunity that a lot of restaurateurs are not currently taking advantage of, like out-of-state shipping of food they make in their kitchen. When I talk to food business owners, right, I'm always like, think of your existing kitchen facility as a production warehouse where you can produce the food, and then think about all the different ways that you can distribute the food. You know, it doesn't just have to be people coming through the door. It doesn't just have to be people who have to drive through pickup lanes to meet you. It doesn't even have to be just your local market. These are the opportunities that, fortunately or unfortunately, coming out of the pandemic, right, has created for existing restaurateurs as well as restaurateurs that are looking to start or get into the space. So there's a wealth of information. When you get in contact with me at Common Cookery or just Google Moses on LinkedIn, I'm glad to share these resources and these changing trends and the opportunities that they present for you as a restaurant owner, whether you're existing or whether you're looking to start. And particularly if you're based in Houston, what is coming for you, so to speak, because this is a destination food city, and it's worth exploring and deciding where you want to go. And we're more than glad to bring you on board our platform, walk you through getting set up. It's very important to us that we also help incubate. It's part of the reason why we're having programs like this, that we invite various participants to come and share resources and various attendees to come and gain knowledge. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Moses. And so are there any questions for our panelists? They've told a lot of information as far as giving us information about food operations and really the practical guide. Fred broke it down so quickly, but it was so potent. And then Nene was a great resource and provided information, and Moses, and especially, and all of them are saying they're here to help and to really think about for you to have options, because things are not being the same way as they were before. So we are in really a new normal. And so how now do you reach out to your current customers, because now they've kind of changed, things have changed for them. And then how do you obtain those new customers? So are there any questions for our panelists? In Common Cookery, they have a 40-mile delivery radius. So we know a lot of folks I think some people got spoiled during the time where they're used to things coming in, they could call and things were delivered to them now. And so instead of going out and getting dressed up and putting on makeup or, all that good stuff to go to a restaurant, they can have parties at their home or just enjoy time at their home. So that's really good. So how do you reach out to those customers? So I guess panelists, a question for you all. Moses talked about some trends, but what are some other things that you've seen how the industry is changing or the customers are changing the industry really?
So you hit the nail on the head with people just getting spoiled. People have been introduced to a lot of options that just wasn't there before or they never thought of, right? And it's here to stay. One is the fact that many options now have to be very specific. Before, people just had to eat what you presented to them, right? But there's been a big change, particularly when you see meal prep chefs enter the scene, right? And they've been really creative with their offerings. So you want to think, right, as you're setting up your business, right? What are you going to be selling? And what customer are you looking for? Do you want to sell something along the healthy lines? If you do, be prepared to really, really disclose what is your food, right? And how it benefits the person who eats it, because those options are there now and they can get to people easily compared to before. That's one thing we've noticed with Common Cookery as a whole. When we onboarding restaurateurs, right? They are very specific in what they offer, and they make very, very clear declarations of what the contents are and what the benefits are to you, the consumer. Customers are demanding it.
Either one of our other panelists want to add to that?
No, I was actually going to talk about the commercial kitchen because I forgot to mention that, like Moses said. So we do have a commercial kitchen. It's pretty new. It's about 8. There's about 8 spots, 6 to 8 spots for entrepreneurs. There's a walk-in cooler, refrigerator, the whole 9 yards. And through our FERT program, we have our clients when they graduate from the program have access to the kitchen. And a lot of them have been taking advantage of it. So our kitchen is getting pretty much full. And that's why I forgot to mention it. But it's still available, of course. There are still some spots left. And let me know if you're interested or if you're looking for a commercial space, commercial kitchen. It's a shared commercial kitchen. It's in East Aldine, 3000 Aldine Mail Road in the Aldine area. So if you are interested, let me know. I put my information in the chat and then we can set up a tour.
Great, that's good information. And there's so much information that's being shared. And so folks, don't be shy on the questions. You have these people here, they are experts and they are here to help. We have a question from Adria. She would like one of our winners of a grand prize today for our trivia question winner. She wants to know, she says, I want more catering orders. What delivery platform has more of a catering platform versus the small order customers? And she says, please exclude the Easy Cater.
Getting ready. Sorry, I didn't know. Fred, did you want to speak? Is that something I can speak on?
Yeah, I didn't know if Fred wanted to speak on that. My name's Terrence Hayden. I'm with Red Hurricane Express. I was introduced actually by Common Cookery, Mr. Aku over there. We actually do handle a lot of transportation, not only locally, but globally as well. We are now getting more introduced into more of the food industry, of the bigger, larger catering, as Mr. Moses has spoke about the 40-mile radius. We seem to be that is more of the dynamic where most people are at in the inner city of Houston, I-10 comes straight across. It's just that area is just so many people in that area that are looking for different types of food and delivery services. As he talked about, everybody's not willing to go in to these enclosed spaces as much anymore. So with us having that delivery service being locally and actually having the ability to do it globally as well, we can now have these individuals have these meals that they've been wanting to try actually, in their home and being delivered within that 24, 48-hour radius. So we can provide actually pretty big, massive orders of catering orders and get them going and rolling quicker than your normal mom and pops, kind of delivery service. So we have the ability to do things in enclosed vans. We have multiple drivers, and we're willing to work with just about anybody if they're willing to work with us. So it's just a little bit about Red Hurricane Express.
So I wanted to, sorry, Terrence, right? Pertaining to the catering delivery, right? That's pretty much common cookery what we do. You are right. EasyCater was really the only platform dedicated to just catering delivery, right? But they are much more focused on the corporate space, right? In terms of their buyers companies. Not many individual delivery platforms cater to catering. We saw that as a very, very big need, and we built it into our model. A lot of our customers, right, sell meals through us that feed at least 4 people. We targeted that specifically for a reason, right? Because we recognize the need that there was an opportunity in between that individual, I want to feed myself for lunch, and someone who wants to feed a family, or they have a party or an event coming up and they need to be able to feed 10, 20 people, right? And we just built that in into our platform. If you go on and you see that, there are not a lot of players in that space right now that are focused on just catering, other than EasyCater, us, and then maybe Seamless. Others, I'm pretty sure, may want to come on board, but it's definitely something that we are focused on. And then obviously EasyCater is the biggest one in the space right now in terms of like corporate catering.
Great. Fred, we had a question for you. So what's it like to work with celebrity clients?
Honestly, Dr. Jackson, it's been pretty cool, to be honest. I think the biggest challenge I have is that, we all know who owns 13, obviously, and obviously he didn't put his life savings into this, typically like you have in most cases. I think everyone knows that. So I think a lot of the times, a lot of people try to take advantage of that on the cost side. You could just, so many vendors unnecessary things that aren't really needed are in there. And so it's just more so just trying to help them stay on track as far as understanding the margins are still the same, right? There's still small margins in this industry. So we got to make sure we pay attention to everything. And I think now they're starting to realize that a lot of people were trying to take advantage of them, and we just got to be a little bit more diligent as far as paying attention to things that are coming in and not accounted for, not signed off on, just being dropped off. You name it, it was happening. So it's been pretty cool. Definitely got a chance to see some people and meet a lot of different people. But I think for the most part, the biggest thing is people just really understand who they're dealing with, and they realize money isn't as a bigger issue as for him as for most people, especially in restaurants. Most owners, that look at the things to a T. He just doesn't have to do that. So that's the biggest thing that I've seen so far. But it's been fun. Answer the question.
Well, that's great to hear. And then, so the final question we have for the panel is from David Halprin. He asks, how much of a presence do local farms have in the Houston restaurant industry? And is supply dominated by the national producers? Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I'll take that one. It's a huge presence, right? And going back to, when I had my time speaking about chicken, I mean, we had a farm up north, North Texas, and I don't know the name of it. I'm sorry about that, but the impact that it has had on chicken here in Texas is huge. I mean, wings, I don't understand how wing owners and restaurants are making money right now. I mean, we're almost up to $200 a case. That's a 40-pound case, right? And I can only imagine, you know, what happened with those birds when, you know, most of them perished during that ice storm we had a few months ago. And now we're starting to see that. And so definitely, you know, local farms play a huge role in Houston restaurants. And it's not just chicken, it's a lot of different areas that are being impacted. And one thing I tell my clients right now is if you don't have more than one food vendor that you're dealing with, it's going to be a struggle, because even those guys are struggling trying to get, you know, product in. And then when they're trying to get it out to various restaurants, you know, it's almost, you know, hit or miss. You know, it shows up and you don't even have it. Now you have to deal with, you know, not having an item on your menu for your guests. And, you know, it's a struggle right now. So definitely it plays a huge role. And I wouldn't say it's dominated by national producers. I'm sure the bigger chains are the ones who are able to, you know, survive and eat, I guess, if you want to say that, no pun intended. But I don't think it has a huge dominating effect. It's just they have more resources to get things to different restaurants.
So I wanted to add that as I'm learning, right, and I'm meeting new people within the industry, I came across Common Market, and they're a great source for local Texas farmers for you to source your items at and connect them. So I'll put the link for them in the chat so you guys could, you know, connect with them so you can get local farmers.
So I had a follow-up question for Fred, right? I know one of the big pains during 2020 pandemic, right, was just the supply chain issues. We know the big boys, just because of the way they're structured, right, they were hit really hard, the Cisco of this world. Would you say, have you seen out there where the smaller suppliers, right, they sort of had an entry into this space that they previously did not have? Particularly in a competitive market like Houston?
Yeah, Moses. I mean, again, I think, you know, Cisco, obviously nationwide and a common name in the industry. But yeah, even they struggle. And, you know, I think if you were a smaller supplier and you wanted to get into this industry, it would be a time to do it just because the demand is just so high for everything. I mean, my clients, I go wherever I need to get the product, right? I mean, sometimes even going to Restaurant Depot, but you got to do what you got to do, because again, at the end of the day, the guests don't understand. They want the product or they want that particular item, and it sucks when you tell them you don't have it. And so for me, it's, you know, let's get the product in. If it's on the menu, let's figure out how to get it in. So I think the market is going to get a lot more competitive moving forward. And yeah, I think if you're a small, you know, vendor or supplier and you want to get into the industry, I think it's a great time to do it. So I think a lot of people are, you know, going to be reaching out. They need it. And people are, as we continue to open up in society, more and more people are getting out, and restaurants are getting busy. They're getting back to what we used to do and used to be about, which is go out and eat, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I want to thank our panelists for all the information that they've shared. We do have a couple more questions in the chat, so I'm just going to ask our panelists if you could answer those questions as far as about pricing, as well as any tips that you have for companies and vendors and POS systems. If you can answer those in the chat for us and reply to everyone so all of us can get that information. So again, thank you to Nini, thank you to Moses, thank you to Fred for all the information that they shared. They also have put their information into the chat feature so that you can have it and contact them. And just to bring you into our next session, which is about networking, our last session, we've been using the chat throughout this time. And so we can't exchange business cards, but we have our chat. So everyone has put their information there. And if you didn't know, you can always save the chat on your desktop or your device, so that you can go back later and you have everyone's information. You don't have to screenshot it. You don't have to do any of that. You can just go to that file, those 3 little buttons there, and click save, and it will save the information throughout the entire chat. So you can go back and network with people from there. And so as we move into networking, we have 2 speakers, Dr. Scott Taylor Jr. from the University of Houston. He brings to us 15 years of experience, industry experience in food and beverage and retail. He brings it to the classroom through including management level positions with DMK Restaurants. He's also authored and co-authored 15 peer-reviewed journals, and I can tell you that's not easy to do, to get those accepted. So he knows his information and he can break it down logically. That's the key. And he's also the founding member of the Carolina Dining Sustainability Working Group and a chef instructor for the South Carolina State Farmers Market Produce and Safety University. And then following Dr. Scott, we'll have Melissa Stewart. She has 25 years of experience in a variety of different companies. She's served in various executive leadership positions, and she is with the Greater Houston Restaurant Association in the chapter of the Texas Restaurant Association. Since 2013, she's been the executive director there, and she has a lot of information, and she can tell you how the association has been supporting the food service industry, the food business. And so these 2 have great information to share. And so Dr. Scott is going to talk to us about collaboration, which we've heard a lot about, but versus competition, which we know that's always the apprehension. So Dr. Scott, go ahead and kick us off.
Certainly. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. That was best entrance I've ever been given. I need you to come say that to all my classes. So being asked about collaboration versus competition is a very interesting one in our field, and with where we're at right now coming out of COVID and trying to sort things out. You know, and the first thing I did is I had to look up both words. As an academic, I'm nerdy like that, and I like to go back and look at etymologies and so on. And collaboration is obviously the key one. That let's really see what it means. And the 2 definitions I saw were it's either the action of working together or it's the thing that's produced from working together. And I think those are 2 different things that we can do more of in this industry. And we've seen certain areas that do it very well and others that don't. I think oftentimes we as restaurateurs, you know, as chefs, as, you know, people in the beverage industry as well, we think we know, and we like the way we do things, and we don't always like to ask questions or see if other people do things differently. I've worked with many owners and managers who have been like that, and I will say that some of them did know, but others could have benefited from a little more conversation, if you will. And especially in today's world, where everything's online, we're seeing things much faster. You're getting Yelp reviews, you're getting posts on Instagram and Snapchat and now TikTok and all these things that we're seeing out there. Your ability to just rely on others, not just for information, right? Because we can obviously learn from one another. How do you cost things? Where do you go look for food vendors? We just talked about local farms in the last few minutes here, and where are we getting things from? You know, how do you price stuff? How do you market things? That's all very interesting. But what I think is really the area for growth with collaboration in our field is actually working with one another, and trying to say I've got a coffee shop, for instance, and maybe Melissa has a bakery, right? You know, we can't be all things to all people, so why not? Why would I not want to carry her baked goods and maybe send her my coffee? You know, it's one of those things where sometimes we find ourselves trying to do too much, and I think that tends to often take away from our ability to focus on the things we're really good at. And with that being said, if I've got a following, if I've got a local following of customers who are very into whatever it is that I'm doing, I'm sharing things with them on social media. They're then sharing those things on social media, and Melissa's got a following, right? And you know, maybe it's a different following. Maybe she's in a different area of the city than I am, and my following doesn't often go over there because, again, in Houston, as I've noticed in a lot of other major cities, people tend to stay in their pockets within the city. I live in East Downtown. I don't often venture into other areas, and depending on exactly what it is I'm looking for. So if you can get that and get people to go, it's a big thing. So if we collaborate, we work together, and we share things on social media with our followers, and really kind of say, we're doing this thing now. I'm carrying her product, she's carrying mine. Or here's this idea. We're doing a short run where we came up with like one item or a couple of items, and we're doing a short run on stuff, and, limited time only, come get it while you can. It really kind of builds this idea of, we're working together, but we're trying to extend our reach. And I'll tell you quickly, an industry that does very well at this is one that I do a lot of research on, and that's the craft beer industry. They're often collaborating, coming up with limited time runs of things. And you're starting to see more and more in food and in restaurants doing this as well. But I think if we focus on, hey, just because maybe something's being sold out of one shop and it's not necessarily coming out of my shop, doesn't hurt me. I may not necessarily be making the money on this day, but then maybe next time we turn around and I sell something out of my shop, or if we can figure out a way to sell things out of both shops equally, you build on community. And a big piece of what we're doing with feeding people, we're trying to build community. Hospitality is the heart of that. And so I think a big piece is if we can do that, and especially I love this idea of limited run ideas, especially in the world of social media. This idea of scarcity. When I think I can't have something, I want it more. And especially with my generation and the younger generation now, this idea of FOMO, the fear of missing out. And if there's a limited run thing, I've got to get to Melissa's shop right now because that's the only time I can get this certain good that she teamed up with this chef, and now we've got it. That spreads things. And then you've got people posting online, and they're sharing it to everybody else. Hey, I went and I got this thing, and it was these two chefs. They worked together and they came up with this crazy new dish, and I got it and you didn't. You got to go check it out right now, right? And that's we're seeing a lot of that kind of happen and be able to grow. And so I'd like to just remind everybody that just because you might be talking with someone or working with someone or they're doing something very similar to you doesn't mean that you're always in competition, right? This industry, the reason I love it so much is because the people are always so welcoming. We find that those people that aren't welcoming and that don't want to work together are often the ones that don't last as long. And I've seen plenty of operations not do well over the years because they haven't been willing to either ask a question or just be welcoming to somebody else. And in today's world where everything's online immediately, if you do one thing where you've made one person upset, that can immediately turn into hundreds, if not thousands of people not even being willing to give you a chance. So if you just, take the time to say, hey, let me ask you a couple questions, I'll become friendly, and then maybe, that chef suggests the customer that's at their shop to come see you, or the restaurant manager says, like if you want to go have this thing or you really like that thing, go check out my friend across the street next time you're out for dinner, right? And that's kind of the thing. Yeah, I want them to come back to me if I'm the one giving the advice, but I also want them to explore. And that's one of those big things that I think, more and more some chefs are doing that, and some restaurant managers and owners are doing that. But the idea is I send you out, you go have a great experience, you come back to me and you tell me, that was an awesome suggestion you gave me. I'm here now, I'm eating your food now. What's the next suggestion? And I come back, right? And it kind of builds this community within your customers as well. And anything you can do to kind of, collaborate and not just always be concerned that if I talk to somebody, I'm going to give them a leg up because they're going to know something that I do. That's not the case, right? And you've got to always be willing to ask questions. And, I think in today's world, work together with one another and be willing to showcase or at least talk about other operators in your area. It's a big thing. Here at the Hilton College, we cover everything from hospitality, tourism, food, wine, travel, all that kind of stuff. And one of my favorite things to do is to find out where everybody's eating, where everybody's drinking, and then go try those things. And then to ask the people there questions that they have or places that I need to go see, and other things. And I found the best advice I've been given for food and drink has always come while having a meal at some location. It's either the server or it's the manager comes over. Somebody's always got that. And so if you're even willing to just do that, right? Because you know that, well, I'm sending you away, but we have to get past that idea of like, I'm sending them away. We want them to have the best experience possible. And that's why we're in this, is to enjoy as much as we can. And, I think I always go back to the idea of, obviously the learning piece, whether it's costing, pricing, purchasing, where are you getting things from, what POS systems are you using? I saw that was a question in here, who can I use to do catering, those kinds of things. We always need to be asking those questions and figuring out those kinds of things. And that's a great way for growth. And to see that those of you in this call are willing to ask those questions is already kind of exciting, because it shows like, all right, we're ready to see that happen. We're ready to collaborate. We want to learn. We want to do better for our company and grow. And so again, keeping that in mind and being willing to continue asking those questions and hopefully maybe, work together and come up with some experiences here and there where you can, really grow your followers and your brand by relying on, your fellow operators, followers and their brand as well is a big thing in today's world. I especially think with the way social media and the internet's moving, consumers' behaviors and where they go. That was a quick run, but I think, not sure if we're okay on time or not, but I don't want to take too much time so that way Melissa can share about networking in specific, in particular.
Yes, we'll bring Melissa on, and then if there's any questions, we'd love to hear the additional information you have. Melissa, hello, how you doing?
Hi, everybody. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So my opportunity today is just to talk to y'all about the Texas Restaurant Association. Houston has a chapter. We are the largest chapter in the state, but we all work together. There's about 22 different chapters. And as you can imagine, with Texas being so big, different parts of the state have different needs. But the role of an association is really to help restaurants do better business. And I really want to thank Dr. Jackson and the OBO for having us here today, because so much of what we're hearing is right in line with our mission and our goals at the association. Is we want to make it as profitable and wonderful to do business as a restaurant as possible. And that comes in a lot of different forms. The reason we were founded probably about 80 plus years ago was because we had a group of restaurateurs up in North Texas, and they had some law advocacy kind of issues, and they knew that together their voice was stronger than if they were all apart. And so that was one of the things that they took advantage of. So they got their voices together, and they went and lobbied, which always seems like a bad word, but it's not. If it's your industry, you've got to be out there speaking up for it. Then they, really just presented their thoughts and the thoughts of the business owner to politicians. And that's one of the big challenges, I think, for those of you who are just starting out in business or have been in it for a while. You recognize that what brought you into being a restaurateur, or what is exciting about being a restaurateur, may not be all the nitty-gritty things you have to do to be a restaurateur. So that falls into things like you didn't realize you were going to have to be a logistics guru and an HR manager and a really good real estate person and a graphic designer and a PR person, all these things. You just wanted to make great food and have people be happy. So it's it is a tough industry. It's one of the toughest, but it's also one of the most rewarding. So at the association, our number one goal, of course, is to take care of advocacy. The Texas legislature just wrapped up, and we had a lot of really great success. Some of our bills that we wanted was to make the alcohol to go permanent, and we were able to get that. We had some goals around also allowing restaurants to continue to sell bulk food. That was another thing that we worked on with the governor's office during the pandemic that we asked to continue on. And that's the kind of things that, when you're running your restaurant, it's really hard to be at the Capitol every day and reading 3,000 different bills and understanding it. And so trade associations can do that. We also, for our members, people who join, we have preferred partnerships with vendors. And so these can be relationships that we've negotiated special deals or special product lines that can be really valuable. Education, I think, though, is probably another thing that people really like from us. We offer webinars, we offer programs. Right now, we're working with the Texas Workforce Commission to actually offer a way to get codes so that you can have a free food handlers exam and or the TABC Safe Haven training. So those are really great things that it, can be, it doesn't seem like it's a lot of money, but $30 for somebody who hasn't been working is a lot. Or even as an employer, if you need to bring in 10 people, all of a sudden that's a pretty big cost. And I want to thank, Moses did a lot of referencing to our National Restaurant Association. And that's another thing we're really good at is compiling statistics and getting the broad view. Restaurants are a big challenge because we're incredibly siloed. And as Scott was saying, it's not always by intent. It's just you're so busy doing your everyday, you forget to walk across the street and meet your neighbors. Restaurants by and far are not intending to be really competitive in that way. I think that they recognize that the sandbox is big enough for all of us, especially in a city like Houston. But it's really a matter of taking the time to go out and share what you know, or to ask the questions to learn from somebody else. And that's where an association can also help with networking. We do different events, whether it was our big golf event or our big gala event. We do smaller things like we call them member mingles, which is just a happy hour. And it brings different restaurant businesses. So like your broadliners or your paper suppliers or power companies, all those together with restaurateurs, and just gives you a really casual, fun atmosphere to work within. But truly, I think what the thing that the Restaurant Association can do, and really any trade association, if you work with them, is it gives you that broad view. I've dropped our website in. During the pandemic, we actually dropped all our paywalls so that we could be the voice of the industry and provide a lot of support and resources. And that's something we do really well. You've heard from a lot of different restaurant, and now I've lost the word. Oh, goodness. Consulting services. That's it. Excuse me. And they are brilliant, and they're going to get to the nitty gritty with you. But if you're just looking, what's a trend, or I can't find any employees, is it just me? It's not just you, it's everybody. It's a hot mess. But those are the kind of things that we really want to try and do. And, who do you recommend for cleaning grease traps and all those good things? So if you have not already checked out the Texas Restaurant Association, or the Houston Restaurant Association, I really do encourage you. It's a chance to get with your peers. The investment is varied as far as how much membership costs based on the size and of your operations. And it's just a really good opportunity to support the people who support the industry, but also to get to know the industry. And I'm certainly welcome to take any questions, but I've put my email address in there if anybody wants to reach out directly. Thanks.
Thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Scott. So we do have a couple questions in the chat for the both of you, and I'll let you pick who wants to answer it. But also, folks, what they're talking about is the collaboration and the networking is so important because we can't make it on our own. And so one of the questions that we have here is, what about food manager certification? Do we need both from the Harris County and the city of Houston, or just one?
I can answer that one just because it's a little technical weird. You only have to have one certification, but if you're in the city, they're going to want you to register it with them. So as a food handler manager, you have to actually register it with the city. I don't believe you have to do that with the county. But correct me if I've misstated that. The food handler, just the everyday one, the simple $15 couple hour training one, you don't have to register with anybody. But the manager of the city is going to want to see it, and there's a little bit of a reciprocity fee that goes with it.
Absolutely, great. And Dr. Scott put in the chat that there at the Hilton College, they have plenty of students who need work experience and internships. So if you're looking for employees, here we go. We're talking about this network and getting the connections from each other. And we do have some folks who are brand new to the industry. And so you definitely want to connect and build that network. And because you need support, just sometimes you might want to just vent, see if things are happening with what you're going through with someone else. So definitely make sure you make those connections. And so I don't see any other questions, but is there anything either one of you wanted to add that you weren't able to share earlier?
Scott, I'm good.
I think I covered most of what I wanted to. It's collaboration. It's especially today's world. It's so important, and I can't again, reiterate enough how important it is with everything online and social media, and just the ability to grow your brand quickly by just, a one-time, even if you post a picture that you go to somebody else's restaurant, right? And that's not even necessarily collaboration, but if you just, I went and ate here, you should go check them out and then come back and see me. Like, just those little things are able to really kind of just personalize you and help your brand that much more.
For sure. And Scott, one thing you said collaboration, but I want to also encourage everyone, get to know your vendors. Yes. Be sure that you're the one who's consistently talking with them, exploring ways to get the most out of that relationship. They may have services that they offer that you're not even taking advantage of, maybe like menu planning or dish or recipe assessment or anything like that. Your vendors may be able to help you with that. Also, you want to be the person that if they've only got 10 cases of wings this week, that you get one of those cases. And I just have to assure you that is not a joke. It's really tight out there sometimes. So, you want to be as good of a partner to those who do business with you, because it can be a little competitive. So get to know your service providers and make sure you've got the right fit. We're really privileged in a big city like this, is not only do we have the really big guys like Gordon and Jake's and Cisco, but we have a lot of small providers, and they can be a great match for you too. It's just a matter of really what you want, but take advantage of those things. Don't be afraid to ask questions. There's too much to know. Don't recreate the wheel. Figure out what you love and what your passion is, and figure out how to copy or downsize or ship out everything else, because you want to stay excited about the things you're excited about.
Absolutely. And Dr. Scott, we're getting a lot of questions about that intern pool. So can you please let folks know how they can access that?
Absolutely. So my email address, I just threw my email address in the chat for everybody. I am happy to share any job postings you have with our career services department. And I can, again, as well, share your emails with the director of our career services. We do have a fall career fair. I'm terrible. I'm going to forget the dates right now. It's usually around October. And I think we usually do a small one in the spring as well. There is typically a cost involved if you want to be at the career fair. However, we are more than happy to share job postings. Myself and other faculty, we're always sharing things in our classrooms. So feel free to email me any job postings or job flyers, especially if you have flyers or something like that. That would be very helpful. Catches the student's eyes. And I will share that with career services and other faculty members that I think would be able to find you good students for that as well. And I'll put you in contact as well with career services here at the Hilton College. I saw another question real quick here.
I believe they wanted to know about, what do you think about the collaboration that's going on with different chefs?
Yes, pop-ups and different chefs. I love all of these things. Back when I was a aspiring chef, I thought that a pop-up was going to be my way into a brick and mortar, and then I realized that academia was better fitting. But again, allowing other chefs, especially sous chefs from places that are looking to grow, or young chefs, giving them a space, even if it's your restaurant, and just saying, hey, come take over for a weekend, right? You do a ticketed event, or you do something a little bit different. You just mark up the price on something a little bit, right? Again, it just makes a different experience for your guests. It gives name to somebody who is trying to get out there in the industry a bit, and people love them. I did a research paper on this years ago about pop-up restaurants, and people are willing to spend quite a bit more money on pop-up events and experiences than they would just going to a typical dinner with friends and family. So again, you can find good price points. It's a great way to share your place or a chef, whoever it might be. So I'm a big fan of them, definitely.
Absolutely. So I just want to thank Melissa and Dr. Scott for the information that they've shared. This entire forum that we have was so much information, and we are just so glad that all of our speakers have been able to come and share that information and to connect with them. And hopefully you all will be able to connect with each other. Make sure you save this chat. And I just want to, Moses, where are you? I want to be paired right next to you. The conversation doesn't stop here with the ending of the forum. We will love to see you this evening at 5 p.m. at the Ebony Food and Music, where we can further continue our conversations on what all was shared, as well as build more connections and network with each other. So everyone is invited. Please definitely come out. You can see the flyer there on the screen, so you can get the address and join us there. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone here, and definitely we could not have done this with our partners, Common Cookery. It's been a pleasure to work with them and the information and their passion to really bring the restaurant and the food business community together and to provide these resources. So again, I put my information in the chat for you to connect with me if you have any questions on what OBO can do for you. And then Moses, why don't you go ahead and have the final words?
So I want to thank City of Houston OBO office for this opportunity. This is very near and dear to Common Cookery's vision to not only be a distribution source, but to also be an environment for resource. We look forward to doing more of these forums, right? And just bringing food business owners, whether you're pop-up chefs or you have some sort of expertise in any of the spaces in food service, to come together and really share resources and knowledge as to what is happening. There's a lot happening in the food service space. It's really, really evolving. Just to piggyback off of what Scott and Melissa were saying, pay attention to the advocacy that the Texas Restaurant Association is doing if you're looking to get into the space, because it does benefit you. Someone told me a long time ago that government dictates what businesses do well in any particular time and period. And I heard that dear to my heart. And to say what Portia said, and to piggyback off of the collaboration and networking, we would love to see you guys today at 5 p.m. At Ebony Food and Music on West Hines on the west side. To further connect and network and collaborate. I know a few people have requested to connect. I'll be there, so you can see me in person, and I'm sure some of the other panelists will be there as well. If you do have further questions, put my contact information in the chat. Reach out to me. I'll be glad to answer them for you, and look out for Common Cookery. We're gonna be making a lot of good noise in 2021. As we expand across Houston, and be glad to connect with everybody later on. And thank you, City of Houston, for helping us organize this. I want to thank all the panelists that came on board, the BakerRipley organization. You guys are awesome, awesome, awesome. Score, I wish Score was here today. There are a few other people that are here that have stayed silent in the background, so I'm going to call you out. Brandy Guidry, I do see you here. Thank you for attending. You're a great resource for startups. I think people need to know that. Kimberly Penn, as usual, thank you very much. She's very humble. If you need mentorship as a small business owner, she's great, great, great at providing that. I want to thank the SBA, Chase Bank, NextSeed, all for participating, and Carlos with BakerRipley, I haven't forgotten you either, so thank you. And then lastly, anybody I didn't mention, forgive me. I want to thank you. And then Dr. Portia Jackson, thank you very much for reaching out to us to help put this together. And I will look forward to working with the OBO office more as we get off the ground. Thank you, guys. See you guys at 5.
Bye-bye, everyone.